Hi, this is the Hunky Homesteader, and this is actually going to be our first video. And for this one, we're doing a project. It's a raised bed garden. It's actually a design that we saw on another site, I Am Organic Gardening, and great design. I just wanted to share with you our experience in building this type of raised bed and share, some videos of the various steps we went through in our build out and design, some of the challenges we faced, and maybe help you guys out. I do think that this looks to be a really good design. So after we build it, we also want to take you through the season, see our results coming out of this garden. And we have some other projects that we're going to be working on as well. Some trellising. One of my favorite is my garden buckets project. We'll talk about that. I think it's a great affordable resource for small kind of mini raised beds, and we'll have some other projects around the house that we'll be sharing as well. So hopefully you enjoy the video. The links to I Am Organic Gardening and to a number of the products that we're using in this project will be listed below. So enjoy the video and please subscribe and like the channel. Hi, this is the Hunky Homesteader, and we're out here working on raised beds today. This is something we did see online. Somebody else had come up with this idea, but I want to go, as we go through this, we found some challenges. I just want to share with you how we've kind of tackled this. So these are 16-foot cattle panels that we acquired from Tractor Supply, and they're 16 feet long and 50 inches tall. So what we've done is we've cut each of these in half. So now I have the panel all set at a good height to create a raised bed. It's going to give you a lot of soil. It's going to give you a lot of depth. And we've got to, we'll talk next step about how we're going to put a liner in here and go through the process. But one of the challenges we found is getting these into a round shape. Most of it is easy, but you'll see what I've done is I've joined these with hog rings. So obviously where that joint is come together, we have some flexibility, and where I can roll this very easily into a shape for most of the panel's length. This section here becomes a real challenge. We've been using a board to try to put some weight, but you've got to be careful so you don't end up getting a bend as opposed to more of a rounding shape. The hog rings are really straightforward. These are something you can pick up at Tractor Supply, at Lowe's. But the original video that we saw on this was just using zip ties, and I felt like these would be more durable, and also as I go through this bending process, give me a little bit more strength around that joint. So we're going to go back to just trying to get this thing rounded out. Most of it we have to do once we get it into position to try to push it a little bit into shape. I've actually already drawn a 2-foot, 6.5 inch circle with ground marking paint, just so we know where we want it positioned and I can get it into a round shape. Next, we'll be showing you how we are going to start putting in the liner, and then what we put inside in terms of the process of filling these things up. So that's part one. Okay, so we've got the cattle panel rounded into shape using our paints, the circle that I painted on the ground. After that, we're using this 20-inch aluminum flashing, same thing you would use on your roof. It comes in a 50-foot roll. We were able to get 3 gardens out of that 50-foot roll. It is 20 inches high, so I give plenty of room for the cattle panel to provide support. One thing that I have found as we went through this process is I'm just going around the perimeter, and every probably about 8 to 12 inches, putting in one of these tent stakes, pointing the hook inside so it wouldn't tear or bend into the flashing, just to get it pressed nice and tight against the outside. As you do add the soil, and I'll show you what we put in, because we start with some other things, but you will find that it does press everything out. The weight just presses this into the cattle panel. The cattle panel can take that weight, but this flashing will mold right up against the cattle panel as you fill it up. So the tent stakes really do help. All the materials we're using, we'll go ahead and put in the links below. So if you want to take a look at what we've been using as a reference point, just so you know, the cattle panels run about $32. The flashing was $75 for a 50-foot roll, but as I said, we were able to get 3 gardens out of that amount. So it was a pretty good deal. Okay, so now I have the stakes pressing the flashing up against the outside of the cattle panels. Before we actually add the soil, and I have a lot of the just garden and vegetable soil that we'll be using to fill these up, what I'm going to do is put down a thin layer of cardboard just to provide it a little bit of a base, and then I'm going to take some of my compost. Now this is definitely not hot. It's been aging for 6 to 8 months, grass, straw, leaves. It does have some chicken manure in it, but it probably is not something I would right at this moment put straight into a garden, but putting it on the bottom to just give me a little bit more density. It allows everything to kind of form up nice against the rough edge on the outside, because the ground isn't perfectly level, and then we'll add the soil on top. So right now I'm just putting in the cardboard, and then I'll be getting some compost to add to the bottom. Okay, so as I said earlier, we went ahead after we finished putting the flashing in, before I actually put the much heavier soil. And by the way, I will blend that with manure, just black out brand manure as I go. First thing we do is put down this layer of mulch. It's a mixture of straw, leaves, grass trimmings. As I said, we definitely have chicken manure mixed in with the mulch, but this is about 12 months old. So as I said, I probably wouldn't throw it directly in a garden yet, but in this application where it's just sitting at the very bottom of a bed, I think we're good. So the next thing we're going to start doing is blending in the soil and the manure to bring it all the way up to the level of the flashing, and then we can start planting. Black cow, this is